Hi guys, so it's Luke here for SimBoxx, and tonight I'm delighted to be joined by trainer Billy Nelson. Billy, how are we doing?
I'm fine, thanks, mate. Cheers.
Good man, good man. Well, thanks for joining us on the channel tonight. And I think the first place I want to start, Billy, is the recent transformation you've had, the work that you've put in the gym for yourself. You've been a trainer for many years now, but I've noticed through looking through your social media that you've really put in the work yourself, and you've lost a considerable amount of weight. So yeah, first off, well done on that, and you're looking fantastic.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
So where did the inspiration come from that? Was it just, you got to the point where you thought, you wanted to make a change, or was there anything in particular for you to knuckle down with and work on that?
I needed a change for a long, long time, so just decided to do it.
Good man, good man. And what would you say is the biggest change that you've made so far?
My diet, and I've been training twice a day.
Fantastic, fantastic. Showing some of these young pups how it's done. It's
getting that time to train when you're a trainer, because you devote so much time to other people. You kind of neglect yourself a little bit. Well, in my case, a lot, but
absolutely. So, speaking of the people that you train, let's get straight into it. Martin Bakole, back in May, picked up a fantastic win on away soil against Tony Yoka. He was written off by many in the lead up to that fight. He was very outspoken, very confident in your chances in that fight, and he went in, he got the victory. First off, before we get into the scorecards and the result of the fight, what did you make of Martin's performance? Sum that up for me and what you took from that.
It was a very good performance, but believe me when I tell you, there's a whole lot more to come. There's a good 20% more to come. And why people wrote him off against Tony Yoka, I was astounded. 5-1 we got in the bookies. 5-1. Unbelievable. Thank you very much. The Caribbean cruise is paid at Christmas.
Superb. So yeah, going in there, like I say, with the hostility of being away in France, Tony Yoka is the big French hope. He was undefeated, Olympic gold medalist. What was Martin's mindset heading into that fight? Was he looking at a points decision, given that the controversy on the cards? Again, we'll touch on that in a second. Was he looking for a knockout? Was you worried about going to the cards? What was the mindset heading into the fight?
Of course, we were worried about going to the cards. I think, he's the age of France, isn't he? I mean, he is a good fighter. Although Martin made him look a very average fighter, in fairness. But we were very worried, and quite rightly so, as it transpired, about the judging. Horrendous judging. Not just one of them. One of them was, the other two were just a little bit behind them, All three of them should be kicked off the French Boxing Federation's panel of judges.
Yeah, that's something that I was going to touch on, because when I was looking through the cards of the fight, obviously the one that's the most shocking was it 94-94, so one of the judges saw it a draw, which, take away the knockdowns, someone scored that fight to Yoka, which is absurd. But then the other two, I think it was 4-2 rounds or something like that, extremely close.
No, the two of them were just 2 rounds, I think.
Yeah, so given that there was a few knockdowns in the fight, as you say, it's absurd.
That made it even.
Yeah.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
So with Martin, obviously he got the win, puts him highly ranked with the governing bodies. But at the minute, I believe he's out sparring with Olexander Usyk ahead of the rematch with Anthony Joshua.
Yep, I've had obviously I've been speaking to Martin. He's very happy with the way sparring's going, and I've also had phone calls from Team Usyk who are over the moon with Martin. In fact, we agreed on Sunday night there for him to stay an extra week.
Superb.
He's been performing that well.
So I seen on your Twitter, I think somebody asked why you wasn't out there, and if you can clarify a little bit that, is it down to the individual setup whether or not other coaches and trainers are allowed in? What's the angle you get from it?
No coaches or managers are allowed in Team Usyk's camp. Simple as that, and you've got to respect their wishes. As if if I was of the same ilk and they came to us, that would be the same for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned there with Martin Bakole that scarily, given that how good that performance was against Yoka, that there's still more to come. So what is next for Martin Bakole? He's going to get this camp out the way with Usyk. That takes him up over the summer. But what are you guys looking at for later on in the year?
Well, there's several things in place just now. So we just have to decide what route we're going to go down, and the decision will be made shortly.
Is there a worry, Billy?
Serious,
Is there a worry there with Martin off the back of a performance like that against Tony Yoka? And, given that outside of the hardcore boxing fans, I think it'd be fair to say that he's not the most well-known fighter. So, his skill set and his victory over Yoka outweighs his popularity, if you like, outside of the hardcore boxing fan. Do you think it's difficult for Martin to kind of get out of the who needs him club in the fact that he's low reward for a high risk?
See that, low reward, high risk? There's another word for a shite bag. That's what that means. That's literally what that means. That's just an excuse. There's two reasons to get out a fight. Say no or outprice yourself. See this high risk, low reward? What a lot of shite. Fight the best fighters that are out there. Alexander Usyk's done it. Why? Martin will fight anybody. 1.1 million people watched the Martin Bakole Yoka fight in France. Brilliant figures. I've been told by the promoter over in France that he's a wee hero over in France now.
Superb.
But listen, see, the bottom line is, mate, whether people care to admit it or not, he sparred everybody in Britain. Everybody. And everybody barred Dylan White, because he called off the night before twice to spar him. He sparred everybody else, and he's more than capable of beating everybody. The only person that he probably that I would think that he would struggle to beat is Tyson Fury.
Right. Okay.
Everybody else he'll beat. There you go. No, maybe he will beat them.
So with the likes of getting the win over Yoka, Mariusz Vaki went away to get that win as well, beating Sergey Kuzmin. He's taking these challenges head on. So is the plan to kind of climb the rankings and force the bigger fights, where it's not so much that he's been chosen, but he's forcing these fights, maybe eliminators, final eliminators, things like that?
Martin will need to get a final eliminator, become mandatory to fight for a world title, because nobody is going to volunteer to fight him. Nobody. And he will. He'll become mandatory within 12 months.
I was speaking there of what's next for Martin Bakole, but an interesting one that I've seen recently was Tony Yoka as a potential opponent for Joe Joyce in Joe Joyce's fight in September. What do you make of that, Billy?
Well, I'll tell you what, wouldn't if Martin never destroyed him the way he did, they wouldn't have took the fight if Yoka would have won. There you go. But it's a fight Joe Joyce should win. But like you say, Martin's went to Poland, smashed Whack. Whack said after the fight he's the best fighter he's ever fought. And you look at who he's fought. He went to Yoka's back garden, destroyed him in 10 rounds, put him down twice. Kuzmin beat him, and I was disappointed with his performance. Never came out of first gear. See they three wins. They're better than anything that, in my opinion, that Joe Joyce or Daniel DeBoe's done. Would you not agree?
It's arguable, yeah. I guess so. Especially the way that he done it and he went abroad to do it as well.
Exactly, and let me tell you something. If Martin Bakole fought Daniel DeBoe, Martin Bakole knocked out Daniel DeBoe quicker than what Joe Joyce done.
It's a big shout.
Not a big shout, it's fact.
Is that a realistic fight for 2022?
Frank knows my number. Frank's got my. If they won that fight, they can get it. As long as the deal's right for Martin, we'll fight anybody. Oh wait, we're not greedy. We're not super demanding. Let some kid-on managers, agents, whatever they call themselves. We will, as long as we get a good deal, we'll fight anybody. If Martin thinks it's a good deal, we think it's a good deal, we'll fight anybody.
Are we making it too simple to say that Martin Bakole coming off a great win against Tony Yoka. Joe Joyce coming off a win against Christian Hammer. They're both in winning form. They're both on a great roll. Are we saying that it's too simple just to say why is Joe Joyce not targeting the winner of Bakole Yoka rather than going for the loser? I know there's the backstory there with the Olympics and whatnot, but am I making that sound too simple?
No, I got a phone call regarding Joe Joyce, but if you want monkeys, you pay peanuts. You know, I gave them my figure. Couldn't get near it.
Right. Okay. So if we was to give you 4 British heavyweights that are realistic, because obviously Joshua and Fury are tied up, but if we got Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois, White, and Chisora, in an ideal world, in what order would you take those fights if he was offered?
In an ideal world, if the deal was right for Martin, Daniel Dubois or Joe Joyce, because both are number 1 in the rankings. Martin does a number on both of them.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Then Chisora. I mean, Chisora's team have asked me not to shout out Chisora because they don't want anything to do with him.
Okay. What did you make of Chisora, Billy? Just touching on that there with his win over Pulev. It was a good win. Is it? Do you think you should call it a day, or do you think his life in Del Boy just shut?
I'd like him to quit on a high. That was a good win. I was happy to win. He's a nice guy, and I was happy to win in front of his fans. Wasn't he a great crowd there that night? Let's be honest. But I think he should have went out on a high. But boxers being boxers, they'll continue unnecessarily. I presume he's got a few quid in the bank. He should go out with his faculties about him rather than potentially, maybe getting hurt. Nobody wants to see him flat on his back, losing his last fight. That's a horrible way to go out because he deserves better than that.
I agree, Billy, but unfortunately, it seems that the name that they're calling now is arguably the biggest heavyweight hitter of all time in Deontay Wilder. What do you think of that?
My argument to you, why would Wilder want to fight Chisora? And he's with PBC, who don't do work with Eddie Hearn. It's not going to happen. I can shout out, I want Muhammad Ali. It's not going to happen, is it?
No, I think the scary thing is, though, Billy, and this is only my opinion as a boxing fan, is that all this talk seems to come from Eddie Hearn, Derek Chisora, and Team Chisora, which is a frightening proposition given that the majority of boxing fans are saying that it shouldn't be a fight Chisora takes. We've not heard anything from Wilder to say he wants to fight.
You're right for Chisora and Eddie, but you hit the nail on the head there. It's talk. Talk is cheap.
Absolutely. So touching on Alexander Usyk, we'll try and do this in some sort of chronological order. Of course, August 20th, the rematch goes down with Ante Joshua, the unified heavyweight world titles. Billy, straight off, we'll break down the fight a little bit, but straight off, what's your initial gut feeling on the fight? How do you see that going down August 20th?
Well, I think Usyk comprehensively outboxed him in the first fight. His tactics were... AJ's tactics was, I don't know if there was tactics. Why would you try and outbox a master boxer instead of using your physical attributes and your all your other attributes that you've got over him? People say he's got to do this, do that, bully him, batter him, use his weight. Listen, Usyk has fought bigger guys all his life, basically. Anthony Joshua doesn't scare... Usyk's not scared of Anthony Joshua in any way, shape or form. And what you've got to remember as well is that was only his, third or fourth fight as a heavyweight. He's going to be bigger and stronger. I mean, the length of time they've had for this rematch is shocking. Shocking. It's putting everybody's career on the back burner. It really is. It's terrible. And I've said before and I'll say again, no mandatory challenger should, no champion should get a mandatory, get a rematch clause in a contract against a mandatory. It's shocking. No organisation, in my opinion, just my opinion, should allow it to happen. But they do because they get big sanction fees. I can't see apart. I mean, AJ is capable of knocking out anybody. That's the only way he'll beat Usyk. He won't beat him in points. And I think Usyk will beat him in points again.
How big of an influence do you think Robert Garcia can have? You know, we're not sure how much time he spent with Anthony Joshua. I know they're out in Saudi Arabia as we speak. But how much of an influence do you think a new trainer will have for Anthony Joshua at this point? You know, is it kind of, you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Is Joshua going to soak something different up from Robert Garcia, or is it going to be one of those that we won't really know until the night?
Well, in fairness, I mean, AJ's only had one trainer his whole career, basically, and Robert. And when things get tough in a fight, most boxers revert to type what they know. And that wasn't good enough in the first fight. So, listen, I hope he does well. I hope he does well. He's a cracking guy, and I hope he does well. But if you ask me who I think will win it, I think Usyk wins in points.
Interesting. We look forward to that fight. Billy, another fight a potential fight. You know, it's only rumours at the minute as such. Is everything in boxing until we get a fight poster and a date and confirmation. But Tyson Fury, he's saying he's retired. He's not relinquished that WBC heavyweight title. Of course, he knocked out Dillian Whyte in emphatic fashion at Wembley, sailed off into the sunset, so it seems. But there's talk of him taking part in an exhibition fight. I don't know if you can shed any light on this with Thor. Thor himself come off a fight that was delayed due to the pandemic with Eddie Hall, but he got the win. And now it looks like he might be getting into an exhibition bout with Tyson Fury. Can you shed any light on that and any potential updates?
Well, Thor's fight with Eddie wasn't delayed due to the pandemic. It was due to Eddie rupturing his left bicep.
Oh, my mistake.
In regard, I'm actually in Iceland now training Thor.
Yeah, I've seen something on social media about that. I love that link up. It's so left field. It's brilliant.
Listen, Thor is an ultimate professional athlete. He really is. He's pinpoint every day. Such a joy to train, really, and a nice big guy. His family are lovely. They've treated me brilliantly while I've been here. But we're not really sure what's happening. And I've read today that they're looking at a 70th. Tyson done an exclusive weight. I think it was what's his name again? The guy with long hair.
Gareth A. Davis.
Done an interview with him saying that he's fighting Thor in a 70,000 stadium in November.
Yeah, that was a headline I seen. Yeah.
Well, so I don't know. I don't know what's happening. So I'm going home. I'm going home Thursday or Friday, and once a date's confirmed or a contract's been given to him, he'll come over to Scotland and start his training. There's no point continuing now. Well, there's not. If it's November, what's the point? There's no point in me being here now. That's yonks away. But whenever he wants to start training, if the fight's confirmed and the contract sent, he'll fire over to Scotland, do a couple of months over there, 2.5 months.
In terms of Thor's mindset, though, is it Tyson Fury or nothing, or is he definitely going to box again in some capacity, whether it's Fury or somebody else?
Thor? I think he'd like to fight again. Of course he wants to fight again. When he's brought me over here last 4 weeks, he's not brought me over here, to go hiking or anything like that. We're here to train for a fight. And however, the initial date that we got isn't going to happen. So I need to go back. I need to go back home, and I'm actually in the process of moving house and buying another house. And an absolute nightmare. So I'm needed at home. Although I would have stayed here another week before I had to go home, but needs must. I'll go home, and then whenever the date's confirmed, we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. So, Billy, if we're looking at this from a different angle, I know you're involved because of training Thor, but Tyson Fury in his prime years as the Ring Magazine lineal and WBC heavyweight champion of the world, should we be hoping for him to step back into the ring and maybe, unify with the winner of Usyk, Joshua, or take on some of the younger fighters in Joyce and Dubois while he's in his prime years? He looked better than ever against Dillian Whyte. Or, should we respect his wishes to be able to do these kind of exhibition fights, or, maybe go to the WWE or something like that?
You've got to respect his wishes. It's his career. He's got to do what he wants to do, what will make him happy. Listen, I've no doubt, in my opinion, I've no doubt that he'll fight the winner, Usyk and AJ. because that's the only fight that interests him in truth. Why does he want to go? I mean, what chance do you get Daniel Dubois against? I'm going to ask you a question, or I'll be the interviewer here. What chance is Tyson Fury, Daniel Dubois got against Tyson Fury?
I think at the minute, the smart money would certainly be on Tyson Fury. It would be a difficult task for Daniel Dubois, as it would any heavyweight, though, if we're being honest. Tyson Fury has looked impeccable in recent times.
Mm-hmm. So that doesn't get that. It does nothing. And that's no disrespect to Daniel. It'll do nothing for a man of Tyson Fury's mindset. Winning all those belts and being the unified, complete champion of the world with everything, that excites him, I'm sure.
Excites his boxing fans too.
Well, so that's what I think he would do.
Yeah, I think I agree.
If I'm honest, I've only spent a month with the guy. I would be a little disappointed if he never done it. But I know what a champion he is, and I believe he will do it.
Okay,
because then he'll get all the marbles, and then he can go and do exhibitions, WWE, whatever it is, and go and do whatever he wants for the rest of his career and enjoy the rest of his life. No, he's not enjoying his life now, but enjoy it even more.
Absolutely. Bill, before we wrap this up, there's a couple of other potential fights that seem on the verge of an imminent announcement that I want to get your thoughts on. Firstly, your countryman, Josh Taylor, that highly controversial. We talked before about incompetent judges. Make of it what you will with his victory over Jack Catterall. It seems that that's going to go down again at the back end of 2022. Of course, it won't be for the undisputed super lightweight titles, given that they've fractured up now. But is that a fight that Josh Taylor needs, to maybe right a wrong and shut a few people up? How do you see that fight playing out if it does happen?
Well, my only concern, he needs to right the wrong, doesn't he? I mean, I thought he lost the fight. I mean, I thought he lost the fight, but he's a man. He's willing to give the guy a rematch. My concern is a 140.
Mm-hmm.
I have real concerns with his weight now, because he quite openly said that that he struggled with the weight. As you get older, it gets harder to make the weight. I'd have preferred him to. Me personally, if I was advising him, I would have advised him to go up to 147, put muscle on, put muscle mass on, get bigger, stronger, because he'll compete at 147. No, but he'll win a world title at 147.
I think this is the interesting thing with Josh Taylor. How you look at the boxing landscape, no matter what division you're looking at, and it can look a certain way, and then one or two fights and it's completely different. So Josh Taylor, had he beaten Jack Catterall in emphatic fashion, like most people expected, with all due respect to Jack Catterall, everyone expected Josh Taylor to deal with Jack Catterall, move up to 147 and potentially take on Terence Crawford, with them both being at the time top-ranked fighters. And now Jack Catterall rematching Josh Taylor is a huge fight, and Terence Crawford is free to take on the Errol Spence Jr. fight, which is arguably the best fight in boxing.
Oh, my opinion, it's the best fight. Commercially, it might not beat Triple G and Canelo, but for me, as a boxing fan, that's the best fight there is. Crawford, in my opinion, is the best fighter on the planet. I was fortunate enough to be in the opposite corner when I had Ricky Burns. What a fight! Best I've seen live. And I think he's improved. He's even improved since then. What I don't understand with the Josh Taylor scenario is when he won all the belts. If he'd have stepped up to 147, he would have done he would have been mandatory for some of the organisations straight away. And I don't know if he's got that right to do that now, because he's only got 2 belts. Am I right in saying that?
I'm not too sure, because I know it's the WBO, because that's how Usyk got in line for Anthony Joshua. So I'm not sure if that's because he was undisputed as well at cruiserweight. Maybe one of our followers can enlighten us on that in the comments. But I know obviously he's kept hold of the WBO title at super lightweight. So maybe if that is a thing, that puts him in line for Terence Crawford still. But I don't know if, as you say, that comes in line with being undisputed.
I think you have to have the 4 belts.
That makes sense.
To obtain that position at the higher weight. I may be wrong, but I think that is the case.
Yeah, interesting. Bill, just to finish off on, we're talking again about potential fights. And, you go back just 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, and this fight was out the realms of possibility, something you might play on Fight Night on the PlayStation, given the history between their two dads. Of course, alluding to Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. potentially throwing it down in, I think it's October. Billy, what do you make of that fight? Is it wrong for either fighter at this part of their careers? Is the weight wrong? Where do you sit on this whole situation? It's certainly got the world talking, the world of boxing, of course.
Mm-hmm. I think it's personally a bad fight for Conor. I mean, Eddie came up with this crazy idea for Kell Brook to go step up to. Although Kell Brook was a massive guy, right? Kell Brook used to be over 12 stone, coming down to 10-7. So he had natural size. Mm-hmm. But look what happened against him, against Triple G. His eye socket dislocated, he fractured, didn't he? Yeah. Got it fractured. And in my opinion, as great a fighter as Kell Brook was, he was never the same after that fight. Because it happened again against Errol Spence. And, and he obviously got the good win against Amir Khan. But you would hate to think that the same scenario could happen to Conor Benn, who is a very, very, very much improved fighter. But I don't think he's a good sized welterweight, but he's not a massive welterweight. And Chris Eubank is a big middleweight stroke super middleweight. I know the weight's got to come down. I don't know if there's a rehydration clause.
Well, that seems to be a bit of a hiccup at the minute, that these issues on Chris Eubank's side. So I think Eddie or Team Ben, I don't know who it is, are trying to implement something about a rehydration clause, which, maybe levels at the playing field a little bit. They're trying to take a little bit away from Chris Eubank in that respect. But
you can't have your cake and eat it. If Chris is coming down to, what is it, 156?
Yeah.
If he's coming down to 156, then there should be no rehydration clause, should there?
No, you wouldn't have thought so, but in the modern world, there's all kind of, as you will know better than anybody, all kinds of crazy demands, I'm sure, put in these contracts nowadays.
Then there's a simple answer. If they don't accept your request, there's no fight. You just say no. I mean, he's already coming down to 156, which should theoretically benefit Conor. But will it? Because 147 156 9, what's that? Is it 156?
Yeah.
So that would be what, £9. £9 is. But Chris will go back up to over 12 stone on the night if there's no rehydration clause. It'll be massive compared to him. I mean, Triple G looked a monster compared to Kell Brook on the night, didn't he?
Yeah, and Kell Brook looked good as well, didn't he? Kell Brook actually looked good, but he was still small compared to Golovkin.
Kell Brook done well. Kell Brook done well against the Triple G. But Triple G is a special fighter who's a phenomenal puncher. But I think in boxing ability, I think Chris Eubank's a slightly better fighter as well than now. But the size is going to be massive difference.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what comes of that. I'm sure we'll get some news one way or another.
I wish the two of them well. I wish the two of them well. I think it's fair to say, and it's not being nasty when I say this, I think the sons are not as good as the dads.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a fair comment to make. I'd agree.
And they're very similar. Eubank's got a great chin and a decent puncher. The dad was a much better puncher, a harder puncher. And Conor's very, very similar. He's that very, kind of head down, arse up kind of guy, getting tore in, big puncher, at that weight, at 147. He's not got his dad's height. I don't think Conor has. His dad's a bit bigger than him.
Yeah.
Hence the middleweight, super middleweight. But his dad was a better middleweight than super middleweight, wasn't he?
I think this talk, again, it's only whispers, but a potential Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn in an exhibition on a potential undercard to Junior against Conor Benn.
Well, I wouldn't like to see that on the under, because that takes the limelight away for their sons. It's their son's day now, not the dad's day. The dad's day has been. If the dads were going to do it, they should do it in a separate card. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let their sons do the fighting. The dads have done their fighting and earned their their dues in boxing. They're great fighters, and a credit to the sport, both of them. They'll let their sons do the fighting now.
I agree, Billy. Well, Billy, it's always a pleasure to catch up and chew the fat with you and talk boxing. Thanks for your time tonight. I'm sure we'll catch up again real soon.
No bother. All the best to you, mate. Thanks.